everyone. This is the weekly for subscribers at LA Wave Trader and Seeking Alpha Crypto Waves. We are weekly webinar, so kind of a typical Saturday morning event for us. But if you're here off of Twitter, you know this is my public, which I do. I invite people in every third Saturday is what I shoot for, unless I'm on vacation, and then I don't hold one that week. Kind of keep a regular schedule. We have this regular cadence of going through Bitcoin, Ether Bitcoin pair. We used to do GBTC after that, and I'll talk about it, but it's probably the last time we cover it because we've got some better stuff out there inside our. I'm going to skip BIDO as well because again we're getting replaced. I'm just going to save some energy. Just some housekeeping items, quite a few actually. Again, everyone's, especially folks are coming up on Twitter. I put threads out for regular subscribers, paid subscribers on Fridays for requests for this. We don't have too many this week. I still don't take them in the question box. So if you are writing a request in the question box, I'm sorry, it's going to be ignored. This is the purview and right of our subscribers. At the same time, navigating the question box is frankly hell. Because questions are flying at me and I like to focus there. And if you throw in requests at the same time, it just is very difficult. It's a little tiny interface. That's my one criticism of GoTo. There's probably other criticisms that people have, but for me, it was that question box. I cannot navigate it very well, and so I like to keep the flow. And so if you put a request in, I'm sorry, it's gonna be ignored. Another housekeeping is I'm speaking at the Money Show. Gosh, I forget which week. It's like the 4th week of February, I believe, the last week of February, I think that's right. It's like a Thursday and Friday in Las Vegas. So LA Wave Trader is holding a members meeting. It is, I can get the details for you. It's out, I forgot. I know it's in the Venetian, but I can't remember the name of the bar, Rock House or something like that in the Venetian. So come visit. Just for security reasons, I don't hang out with people in Vegas for kicks. That's incredibly dangerous if you're in my line of work. So I won't do that. You know, you're welcome to come chat with me on stage. That's cool. But I'm not gonna be walking out with you, hanging out, going to clubs or anything like that. It's not what I do. Again, mainly for security reasons. But happy to hang out with you at the members meeting if you're a subscriber, and would love to meet you there. My talk is gonna be related to these spot ETFs, although I haven't really developed it yet. That crowd there at the Money Show is a very stock-oriented crowd, so I've tried to do really deep crypto talks and they really don't work. So we're going to talk ETFs. I think that is all the housekeeping. And then before we start, I want to talk real quick about these ETFs. And this is kind of spurned from lots of questions from subscribers. Both, some of them actually express a deep misunderstanding of what these spot ETFs are and how they compare to GBTC before it was a spot ETF as well as BIDO. So I want to be very clear. We're going to start there because I think it's very, very important. I even had the question, or comment this week that, why cover these spot ETFs as a crypto? Well, I mean, it's, simply put, it's a business decision. We want to cover crypto and also how you can benefit from crypto in your brokerage account. So very simply, I've seen a big growth in subscribers since we started to do that. So it is a business decision. I'm accountable to growing a business, and it was something the management and I decided to do, and that's why we do it. At the same time, I trade these things anyway in my brokerage account, so might as well. All right, spot ETFs. So there's a couple things. One thing I had heard was people believed that they would have more return based on how much Bitcoin is tied in the fund. That is a very deep misunderstanding. So some people said we want to stay in GBTC because it has more Bitcoin. No, every dollar you put in these ETFs, theoretically, you should have the same portion of Bitcoin for your dollar. Because if GBTC has more Bitcoin, it also has more share float, okay? And with your $100, you're just gonna get a smaller slice of that share float. That's the way an ETF works. Going forward, if Bitcoin goes 2x, then your spot ETF should go 2x, less fees. So by that determination, I am no longer going to be in GBTC. I still have some shares. I'm kind of pulling out carefully and slowly. I'm also cautious if it starts to depeg because it's under deep selling pressure right now. I don't know. There's a thread out by Wolf of All Streets, which he's copying, was Eric Balkunis, and we've seen $560 million in liquidation of GBTC, while the other ones have seen inflows. Okay, well, that also means GBTC has to sell some Bitcoin to match that drop in outflow. That's the way an ETF works. And so I am a little concerned that GBTC depegs, but tell you what, if it does depeg, I'm going to buy some because that's an arbitrage opportunity. Okay, so so I'm trying to sell slowly, but long term it makes no sense to own GBTC as long as they hold on to this 1.5% fee. Again, it's irrelevant how much Bitcoin they have, and they're selling it anyway because they're having outflows. $560 million in a few days, or in the last week or something like that. Check it out. And so you want to be in the lowest fee, ETF. That said, I have other factors I care about personally in the ETFs. One, liquidity. I care about the spread. I can't tell which one is running tighter. They're all pretty tight, which is great. Second, I personally, and this is totally philosophical, if I'm right, BlackRock has lowest fee. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. But I would rather invest with crypto natives, those that have built the industry. It's just a philosophical thing, and I totally get it if someone says no, BlackRock all the way, because that's the lowest cost fees, largest asset manager, yada yada. Okay, so I care about that. I care a little bit about custody, but they all seem to be at Coinbase by and large, except for Fidelity's doing their own. And maybe I think there's someone else doing their own. I don't remember. I think somebody's got Gemini. So maybe it's VanEck has Gemini or something like that. So I do care about diversifying a little, but that's pretty hard to do since most of it's Coinbase. So I do care about crypto natives. Now I consider Fidelity crypto native because they've been trying to build in the space for a long period of time, and they have a research body around digital. So I consider them native. So I kind of did the easy thing. My Fidelity account I put into FBTC. I've got another account in ARKB, and I've got another one in Bitwise. So those have been my choice. Some people say, what is the best ETF? Well, you decide what your values are. It's pretty hard to argue that there's a big change between a 0.1, 0.21 and a 0.23 or 0.26 or something like that. Expense ratio, we're talking about, splitting hairs a little bit, but I get it if you want to save every dime, especially if you're a whale. If you're gonna be an ETF whale, I'm far more of a Bitcoin whale than an ETF whale. So I'm less worried about it, but you've got huge positions managing a fund. You're a money runner. You may want to take the lowest cost fee for sure. I get it, totally get it. So I'm not going to fault anyone for going BlackRock. And same time BlackRock don't they have Coinbase custody too as well, just like GBTC and whatnot. So, but I just cannot stomach a 1.5% fee in GBTC. Okay, so that's just a quick rundown of the ETFs, how I'm making my decision. So I've got, I'm just taking a separate decision each account that I have. Well, not all the accounts have exposure. I have a lot of brokerage accounts. I'm a little nuts that way, but it's nice to have backups. And I have a few of these ETFs already. I've taken small positions in FBTC, ARKB, and Bitwise. I forget the symbol. Anyway, BITW, is that it? Something like that. Anyway, so those are my choices. I'm not advising anyone. But I did want to clear up the misunderstanding. Oh, and lastly, again, last week I went ad nauseum on why BITO is a problem and why the spot ETF. I was surprised people didn't understand it, but very simply, it's got a roughly 2% tax on it before the management fee that is classically, historically been part of the roll decay in the fund because Bitcoin futures trade in contango. If you don't understand what that is, you got some terms to look up. Google's your friend. I can't do a lesson on roll decay or contango versus backwardation in futures. Okay, so you check out those terms, and it's good learning. Google's your friend. Anyway, so that's my little spiel on the spot ETFs, where I'm going with it. I am going to cover. I have a calculated chart of ARKB. It's the easiest one because it's a 0.001 Bitcoin multiplication. That makes it very easy for me to quickly quote support and resistance on it as best I possibly can. But I'm running that calculated, which I'll show in this webinar, so that we know where it's likely to go in the future. I find some variation in it, which I wouldn't expect. So, but it's all within sort of, government working well. And then the day I would be looking at Bitcoin for levels and look what it's doing. So if you are foreign to crypto trading, get familiar with pulling up crypto quotes, charts on TradingView, and learn how to do that, because that's going to be a lot more reliable, especially with the 24-hour sessions in 24/7 sessions in crypto, you know, the peaks and troughs differ versus regular trading hours, which makes for mucked up Elliott wave patterns on anything that only trades regular trading hours. So I need to use a calculated chart. Okay, so basically take the calculation. I'm doing that in ARC-B. I will try to do all of them, but I may not do like future progressions. But again, it doesn't matter. We know when to get in and out of Bitcoin. So by using that chart, and that will be the same way with the ETFs. If Bitcoin is a buy today, as we did a little buying yesterday, also the ETFs were a little buy. So you can see I did them in tandem, right, when I called it on the board. All right. Okay, so any questions on that? Let's see. I'm gonna let people ask questions on that because that's a deep topic for a lot of people. Ryan, have you noticed that some of the BTC spot ETFs perform better than others on a daily basis? They shouldn't. Again, if they do, I would actually want to buy the underperforming. I don't know if I'm going to get that intimate so tight with it. I'm going to see arbitrage like this. But again, in the situation, if you had one that was underperforming that day, it's a very simple arbitrage. If you're fast enough, is you sell the one that has performing par and buy the one that's underperforming, right? Because the mechanism by which share creation and redemption happens causes it to go to par. So all the ETFs, unless one of them has having serious problems in the market making function, they should go back. So take that as an opportunity, not as a, I don't want to be in this one. I want to be in the one that's underperforming because the market making function will send it back to par. Okay, so that is how a spot ETF works. And so, so I don't know if that basis of that question was, I want to avoid the one that's underperforming. No, I am the opposite. And so if you understand how the mechanism here, again, unless we find out that that market making function or firm is going under on the underneath and it's starting to depeg at a more severe situation or more what's the chronic problem in that fund, then that's a different issue. But if it happens on a kind of little spot basis, like a little bit like this hours of underperformance, I don't know if I'll ever be able to catch those. In fact, like I said in last webinar, on severe bottoms where there's where the futures go backwardation briefly, which we have seen many times, buy BIDO very briefly and sell it the next day or next 3 days for a spot ETF. Okay, so I will watch for that too, because often the Bitcoin futures, what usually trading contango, go briefly to backwardation, and that is an arbitrage opportunity. And I have done that quite a few times over the lifetime of BIDO. So and again, if you don't understand backwardation risk contango, look it up. But it's something that happens at important Bitcoin bottoms. Okay, and it's because the contango is quite tight on that fund, or quite tight on the futures, and that gives them enough space to go briefly into backwardation when everyone's freaked out. Okay, and again, we want to be buying people are freaked out, right? So it's a good sign of a reversal. I didn't look to see if we had the backwardation on yesterday. I don't think we had much freak out yesterday. That's to come, right? As this correction goes on. All right, so again, it's also a sign that was not an important bottom yesterday. And again, I'll feel differently if we get an impulsive reversal out of here. All right, so so I haven't noticed. I'm not sure I will notice because the function, again, it should be so tight that it doesn't matter. See, ARC-B seems to more or less track the price 1,000. That's what I was saying, and that's why. So ARC is basically 1/1000 Bitcoin. It makes it really nice and easy calculation. So it's just my preference for tracking that again, because you guys ask me like, what's the support for XY? I'm telling you, I'm not going to know support resistance on every damn spot ETF, but I'm going to know ARC because all I do is I know what's support on Bitcoin usually by memory, and then I can quote it to you divided by 1,000. Makes it easy, right? But I'm not going to be able to do it on every ETF. I mean, it's just freaking impossible. I won't even know it on the ETFs that I own. Like it just we got 11 of them. I mean, it's insane. Like that's the other thing is I kind of decry the fact that we've got all these spot ETFs because honestly, Bitcoin market's I think a little healthy without all this. A lot of people are saying it's gonna be less volatile. I'm sorry, but I think it's gonna be more volatile because one, you're giving non-crypto natives in their brokerage account now a taste of Bitcoin, and every time someone sells a spot ETF, the market makers have got to sell Bitcoin. Like, man, we're gonna be seeing some crazy moves in Bitcoin in the future because I think these spot ETFs are going to actually magnify it. People are saying the other way, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it one bit. Just think about the mechanism, and if we could talk about that on the board another day. But I've heard someone say no more 50% drawdowns in Bitcoin. I was like, what? Are you insane? Don't tell people that because that is absolutely false. Anyway, so no, this is still Bitcoin, and it's still very thin on native exchanges across the world, and it's a global asset, not an American asset, right? Like, I mean, for Pete's sake, there's still degens across the world. They're going to be slinging Bitcoin hard with thin order books. I mean, they have really thinned out over the last few years, and now they're thinning out more because they're just a big take up from the spot ETFs. I mean, by the millions. All right, so hello, sir. Is this a 1-2 setup too much? I don't see a 1-2 setup on the chart, but we'll review the charts. You're seeing my alternate counts right here, so we'll talk about them. So you already asked him about counts. All right. Any other questions on those spot ETFs? Everyone get it? All right. So if they come up again, man, we got a huge turnout. I mean, it's probably an important day, right? So just real quick, is before we dive into charts. I mean, guys, you guys know that I'm expecting 125K. There's lots of ways that can change for sure. Lots of outcomes. A lot of outcomes can change that. None of those are projected right now, but by and large, as long as we're over 19K, I expect 125K. That's my target. So there are lots of twists and turns I expect. Again, zooming in, I've talked about this A, B. The length of this move here rules out a 1-2 here. I think maybe that's the question I was being asked. The height of this move rules out a 1-2 in proportion to the move down. We're moving in symmetric ABC structures unless here we stretch out into a very direct off of this B/2 up into this red count. I slightly prefer the black count, but it takes a break below, what's my level again? I should know it. 36, takes a break below 36K to confirm, and I mean it, confirm this B. The B does not have to go this low. I'm just putting it as low as it comfortably can because below 19K, we're not in a bull market anymore. So we'll track, it should come down correctively, and it should, and I would actually prefer this for it to hold 27K, but it certainly can press way down here. And people have been saying it's very normal to get a very deep pullback in this portion of the window before halving. Again, I'm not too tied to halving cycles like some people are, but okay, that wouldn't be too surprising either. If that is normal behavior, why not, So right now, no inclination of breaking 36K. However, we do have 5 down off the top. So we have formed a very nice 5-wave A wave. That means that there should be more to come. You can have an alternate view that the A started here, but pretty clear 5 waves to finish this. So I definitely prefer to call this 5 waves initializing, so to speak, beginning, leading 5-wave structure, however you want to frame that, which is to say that it requires that there be a B and a C at least. Possibly breaking the support, but first we start with the expectation that the B and C will hold the support. Pretty much bottom ticked it yesterday on the board, adding Bitcoin and spot ETFs. I mean, I don't like claim that I have I've bottom ticked things, enough in my trading career. I don't pat myself on the back. It's nice when it happens, but the structure just simply was quite clear yesterday. So it's nice. We bottom ticked it more or less, maybe not by the minute, but very close, right? Bottom tick is pretty, basically you're saying you got the very bottom. But within the hour, we were pretty much buying yesterday. But in my point of view, we were buying for this B wave. So it'll be opportunistic profit taking. I'll start probably scaling out, I suspect, Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, I'm not selling all my Bitcoin. I'm just taking what I bought, snapping off a little profit from the buys that we did yesterday. Again, and I bought ARKB, FBTC, I bought BITW and Bitcoin itself. So I buy a little bit Ether? I can't remember. So I went, hog wild on Bitcoin related assets yesterday at the bottom. I posted that. You guys know that we did it. I think Jason's doing the same, right? So we did a good job bottom ticking yesterday, but we expect this rally to be corrective here in this B, coming down in down into the C before we again ideally wrap this up. I tell you, I love the black count with a drop down at 27K, but there is a nice good barrier here at 36. So we'll see if my preferred case is the case to be. Again, I don't always necessarily trade my preferred case. It's just that I just think that would be really nice structure if we did come down in that regard from any standpoint. So we'll see if the market cares what I think. Probably doesn't, right? But watching this area, definitely going to be accumulating into 36K. It could be even higher. It could be no much lower than this bottom we had yesterday. That's completely possible. We don't know where this B is going to land. B's can even break out over the top and get everyone running. High B waves are very common in crypto. So we get everyone chasing the breakout, and then all of a sudden getting washed out, leverage is pumped up, and you get a nice washout to C back to support. So that would be all very normal. But do expect from this structure, and then again, unless we get an impulsive, clear impulsive reversal here, my expectation is this this correction is going on for a bit. All right. And then I think the other thing to say is that it, in my view, I can't say it confirms the red count, but breaking over in 65K definitely swings the probability towards a red count and a direct move up at 125K with, you know, just these subtle fourth waves along the way. Why does that level confirm? It's just, it would be an extra long C. It's not to say that C's cannot be that long, but it would be very long. So, and Bitcoin has less of a tendency to get those very long C's. So again, probability would switch towards the red count. And again, we'll just be moving this. This is the box that is the pivot between black and red, and we'll just be moving it as we go, because these levels will, these fourth waves are going to be higher, subsequently higher, it should be. All right, so that's what I got in Bitcoin. Let's do Ether real quick, and then I'll do Ether Bitcoin pair. I'll flash up the ARC-B, and then we'll go back into questions. So zooming out on Ether, I expect to move to 10.9. I quoted from 10.5. I should say Bitcoin has a possibility to go to 185. It would be strange to stretch there. Ether has a chance of 119K, but both of the tops of the yellow boxes of both are incredibly stretched. That said, I expect a lot of euphoria to hit the market when we get up there, and that's sometimes where you get the extra long fifths. Anyway, Ether's different in that we actually now appear to have a 1-2 off of this low, where Bitcoin is too high to be a 1-2 in relation to the rest of the 2023 rally. This is perfect fib work of Ether. Of course, that happened by it lagging a bit, but now I do expect for this to start to outperform Bitcoin. It does look set up for that, so we'll see how that goes. Zooming in, I have 1680 support. This charts, I want to get rid of some labels because it's super sloppy, but 1680 is the bottom of the blue box. Right now it projects to right about 2140. So we'll see if it holds that shallow. We can always get an A, B, C, then another B and C. That's the trick with corrections, is they subdivide as much as they want to until we get an impulsive reversal. So I'll watch for an impulsive reversal from 2140 to 1900. And if it doesn't show up, then we have to watch for another subdivision and this thing stretching out. Not expected, but again, very reasonable to happen. That, the other thing too is now this one ran ahead while Bitcoin was correcting. What happens here with Bitcoin's big push in B wave? Does this break and it goes again it tries again for another high, make it turn this into 5 waves? Then we have a 1, 2, 1, 2. It's possible. This is a diagonal, so the fourth can be low. That would mean that this wave 1, or actually this little drop here, would be a fourth wave when we get a fifth. Still possible, but it's just too low to be reliable, so I removed that count. You that are on Twitter, you don't know what count I'm talking about. I removed it last night, but I'm saying we could get a fifth wave up in this region and then get a smaller pullback in 2 and be on our way. So it's not what I expect, so I've removed it, but this is a pretty tricky structure that we've had in Ether in this correction. It's hardly been a correction. It's pretty much pushed back towards highs and kind of had a false breakout. So that's the nature of counting tricky corrections that are quite messy. That said, it's starting to look a little bullish versus Bitcoin, which is a segue to this chart, which if we fill in 5 waves to 0.066, then I have finally what I wanted to see for a major bottom in this chart. I still expect to be, we'll see though. It's possible that we get a higher degree. It just didn't get good confluence with the daily pattern that I have. So yeah. So anyway, so I'm watching for a B, but we'll see. There's possible that we get another 5-way structure, and that would push it up into like 0.15 basically is what I got, I think. So I have to double check that. But anyway, we'll see how that evolves. But this is basically the reversal, or it looks like it is forming the reversal for a lasting bottom in this pair, which suggests that Ether should outperform Bitcoin. And then lastly, I'm just going to hit quickly on ARC-B. Again, I call it calculated. Where did I put that? Calculated, because it is actually a Bitcoin chart calculated to 1/1000. I think there's a few more decimal points in there to get a little tight. You can see that it projects to 135 versus 125K on my Bitcoin chart. So there's like slightly something off. But at any rate, 125K to 185. So it's a little bit off up here as well. So that's the range this should be. So I'm going to look at that calculation as we dive in. I haven't done all of the micro, but naturally 36K. So $36 is basically support. I'll just quickly roll it in, but I need to finish this count. I haven't been able to totally build this chart out. I also need to fix all of my long-term data in Motive Wave for Bitcoin because I don't have anything prior to 2018, which is annoying. I've been trying to fix it and struggling with it because the data provider got rid of all of it. Thank you. Anyway, so roughly should be an ABC, should be a B wave bounce, and then this should be support at 36. Doesn't mean it goes that low. It may only drop as low as say 39.40 in that region, depending on again how high this B is. B is for bastard, as I say, because they're all over the map. There's no real regular pattern, but at a basic level, they usually retrace at least 50% of the A. So that was, I think that put us somewhere around the 46 region. Someone could quote me if they remember what I wrote in my report, but 46 K region is what I remember. Looks about right too. So that's the gist here. So what do you guys have in terms of questions now? Let's see. Please again explain levels 36K, 27K, 19K, 65K. All right, so let's explain those. Good question. I don't, it's going to get into like the nerdy aspects of Elliott wave. So one, for this red count, this is the 50% of the progression of the third. Actually working off the lower level 2, because on an unfolding third wave, you use the 50% mark. An impulse doesn't breach that, just doesn't. So it's pretty empirical work. In fact, usually you don't want it to breach the 382. So that's the way this is derived, and that's why if we're really continuing in the red, which is a ongoing third wave, it should never breach that, and that box will move with each of these to the 50% mark of the ongoing third wave. Okay, same thing with this fourth. So that is a very, very reliable number and is required for this count in red to be valid. Simple as that. 65K is, again, there's a tendency for C waves in Bitcoin. It does in all coins, it's totally different, but in Bitcoin, tendencies for C waves not to progress past the 1382 extension, and that's what that is. It's very simple. So that's why I said that would be a very long C wave. It's not to say that it's invalid, but it's simply improbable. And we're almost getting to 125K anyway. So it's possible a C wave just continue to climb up there, and but that's just going to look like red count anyway, so it's going to be irrelevant. So it's basically that's why this 50% is so useful in terms of determining whether we hold these tight pullbacks or we get into large V wave pullback. 27K is a 764 retrace of this level. It's really not that reliable in this situation because this is not a 1-2. That is very reliable in a 1-2, but it is a valid level. Often 764 are not retraced if you have a very important bottom. So it's not really, it's sort of not the best Elliott wave work. In fact, it wouldn't be too unnormal in this situation for us to finish out a C wave and actually pull right back to this B wave. So although I don't have a level there, about 25K, I wouldn't be too surprised by that either. Again, it's not a very like Elliott wave oriented support level, but it's an area I would watch as well. And then 19K is a 764 retrace of the entire move so far in 2023 to 24. And that is very important because that is where the bull market breaks. Okay, so that is 19K. So that's kind of the rundown of all those levels. And that's all based on Elliott wave imperial work. GBTC, I did say I was gonna hit GBTC. The problem I have with GBTC right now is I haven't calculated. So I had support at 23, but that really is only valid if this is gonna go back into discount, which is not, right? It's not, unless Bitcoin, GBTC has deep problems in the market making function. It's not going to go to 23 if Bitcoin is going to hold 36. It's probably somewhere around 36. I need to calculate that, and I have not gotten on that. And the same goes for this 102. I don't know how many Bitcoin per share, so I need to do the same calculate. So this entire chart needs to become a Bitcoin calculated chart now. And so no longer is this count, to be honest, this chart is no longer useful and I simply haven't done it. I will do that, but I've been lazy on that simply because, guys, this is not the fund we want to be in, right? There's no reason to long-term hold it. So I'm basically going to liquidate into this B wave if I can get it. So it just that'll give me enough liquidity to get, because I have a pretty decently sized GBTC position off over several accounts. I've liquidated a substantial amount of it, but this B wave, but again, like, why take the 1.5% tax on this fund when you have the option to take the 0.2126 whatever tax on your, talking about the management fee. So anyway, so I have to recalculate all of this, but somewhere around 30 on this and somewhere around 102, and I don't have any clue what's going on in the middle of it until I convert this into a GBTC, Bitcoin calculated chart. Again, this chart is completely messed up by all the premium and discount, which now is gone, or at least I think there was like 0.5% of discount as of close last week, which basically is no discount. And again, I'm not even sure I'd even want to arbitrage 0.5%. So it's just really pointless to be in this fund now. If you don't agree with me, do explain your position. And your position is not valid to say they have more Bitcoin, because that is not how it works. All right. So Willie, you need those levels again, and you need it slowly. Okay. I'm just, instead of going back to the chart, I'm going to say it slowly. Get out a piece of paper and write it down. All of my retraces are in log. 65K is the place where my C wave reaches the 1.382 extension. 1.382 extension. Most C waves don't go past that in liquid assets, which Bitcoin is. Okay, number one. 36K is the 50% mark of the C wave off of 25K or whatever in that range. I'm not giving you an exact number. Okay. That is reliable as, again, the 50% retrace of the ongoing third in log, not linear, is reliable for an impulse. So if we're going to continue up in my red count, the 50%, and I mean trailing, so it's going to move up, cannot be breached, or at least not sustained breach. Okay. Next, 27K is the 764 retrace, 0.764 retrace of the C wave. Should not be breached. Okay, not as reliable as the 50%. So again, I have no issue if the black B wave goes all the way down to 19. Okay, as long as 19K is not breached, because that is the 764 log retrace of the entire 2023 to 2024 rally, and that should never be breached. Okay, and so the bull market would be over if that is breached. Okay, all right. Where are you accumulating for ARKB? Well, again, I bottom ticked yesterday. So I started off just buying, just to get, as I sold my GBTC, I switched over to ARKB, so I started there, and I bottom ticked yesterday as we dropped, right? And then we'll see how the B wave shapes up. Again, you can just use the blue box, which is, you could say 40 to 36, basically, but where exactly in that 40 to 36 depends on how that B wave forms, how that C wave comes down, and all of that. And sometimes it depends what mood I'm in. I'm kind of joking, but not really. But in that region, basically. And again, I've already been accumulating, but that's where my eyeballs are looking at next. Okay. Let's see. Any chance APLD? I'm covering some of those, but again, I'm not taking. I think I'm covering APLD. I got whatever the requests are that people covered, and whatever's on my weekly is what I'm covering. I'm not adding anymore. Could you show your multi-year long-term count for BTC and Ether, please? The Ether one's messy, evolving, big ADC, so I don't want to waste time with that. And then BTC, I just don't have one ready I didn't prepare one for this webinar, so I don't have it, so sorry. If you are in the service, I will point you to my long-term article where I have my 3 alternates for the long-term Bitcoin, and I have that for Ether as well. All of those will be redone when we hit 125K, because that's a very key point. I think I haven't redone them since 2021 because we haven't needed it. So if you're on the service, you can ask can remind me and I can put it up. And I'm not talking about markets because that it's behind the crypto paywall. So you're out of luck there. But if you are in the service, I can post that link again. Or you can search it and it's readily available. But I don't have one ready for this webinar. Sorry. All right. So you have a chart of BITW. No, I don't. I have not done all the calculated charts yet. So we should trade out of GBTC and into BIDO. No, BIDO is bad too. You guys, BIDO is bad too. It's a futures ETF. Again, okay, you say we should. Okay, first of all, nothing I do is a recommendation. That I am not legally allowed to give you recommendations. I'm just again saying GBTC has higher fees than any of the BTFs. That's why they had 560 million in redemptions while the others saw growth inflow. Okay, that's simple. People count that 1.5% as a tax they do not need to pay. Okay, so again, I will ask the question, why would you want to pay that? Okay, and again, because they have more Bitcoin is not a good answer. Because that's the only argument I've had over the last few days. I'm not picking anyone particular because a few of you guys have said that, and that's just not how it works. BIDO, okay, BIDO is no good. It's a crappy product. It owns futures, not spot ETF. That means you have roll decay tax, okay? 2% a year is what it has been, and for the last 2 years we've traded that piece of junk. Okay, so don't buy that. Okay, well, I can't say that. Don't buy. Well, I think I can say don't buy. I can't say do buy. What am I trading? Again, I have bought ARKB, FBTC, and BITW. Okay, all right. If you need to know the levels, okay, back to the charts, okay, because I don't have charts on all those yet, because I haven't done calculated charts. It's no good to use a 5-day chart on these things. Waste of time. Okay, but if you need charts on it, you simply find out how many Bitcoin per share they have, multiply it, if you want the new next support level, 36K times how many Bitcoin per share they have. I don't know how many they have other than ARK is a very clean 0.0001. So that's why I know it by heart. It's easy, but I don't know how much the other ones do. You can open the prospectus, check it out, and find out. Okay, Google's your friend. All right, and again, I'm not, and at some point in time I will do that, but again, like I am in a hustle every day on the board, and I don't have time to be on top of all of these things, and you're not going to necessarily see calculated charts for all of them in a long while. Again, you can do a little bit of calculation work here. You got a calculator just like I do, and you can figure out the support levels for that. Okay, it's not hard. And if you have problems on how to do that, let me know. Which fib level is most common for C wave? 1.0. Most of the time, the C at least reaches symmetricality with the A. Sometimes falls short of the 764. It's never 618. If it's 618, it's something else. It's not a C wave. So that's the basics. That's kind of, yeah. So usually it's 1.0 or longer. So again, 1382 is quite stretched. All right. For zigzag possible, I think I covered that. I don't care. The whole difference between zigzag and flats is a little bit overstated. The fibs are really not that different. Let's see. Would you mind repeating which spot ETF may be preferable? Okay, again, I have personally bought FBTC, ARKB, and BITW. Some of you guys might want BlackRock. Again, I think it has the cheapest fee. Someone can correct me, but the reason I'm not is because they're not Bitcoin native. That's philosophical to me, and the difference is not enough. But if you're a big money runner, then you may want to do this cheapest fee. So Dave, what are you asking? Is this real? I don't know what you're asking. Are you asking why so many repeat questions? That's my life. All right, and sometimes I have to say I have to respect that some people are from other countries that are not English speaking, and I'm a quick fast speaker. I learned my lesson working for I mean, yeah, just sometimes I know I speak fast, and again, the non-English speakers, they not that we have a big percent, but I respect that. I've worked internationally, and I was always told to slow down. I worked in Brazil, I worked in Mexico, I worked in South Korea, I worked in Germany and Spain, and all of them told me to slow down. All right. Any other questions? Okay, let's go to the weekly charts. That we are now done with Bitcoin Ether. Unless you guys have more questions, I'm happy to go back. Again, for some of you guys that were on last month, we cut out a ton of charts. Aave, BNB, it's not that they're bad, they're just not great. And I'm looking at some of these now, kind of interested in cutting some more, trying to just get to the best setups. That does not mean I still own Aave, I still own BNB. Some of it has to do with the accounts I have. My BNB is in the Binance chain, so it's hard for me to get it out, all that stuff. I have to bridge to get it out into my sellable wallet since I'm off KuCoin, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't reflect my personal positions, but we did a lot of cutting of the weekly report. So that's why this is gonna be a little bit pared back from where it was last month, and we may do some more. And again, the idea is that we put in some better setups as they come along. So the first one now is not Aave or BNB, it's now Matic. Matic looks great. We'll zoom out on it real quick. I expect it to go to 10.5 if everything goes well. Again, none of these is crystal ball work. It's just, it is the projection until it fails. I think looks like my fib wandered. It's 10.5. Looks like it's sitting at 9.5. But anyway, not 10.5. You know, it could fall a little bit short, but regardless, we've got a great trade with a great 1-2-1-2 setup here, as long as it holds over, what was the level? Over 58 cents. We're coming down towards it. Looks to me like we need a fourth and fifth. So definitely in a accumulation zone, but it should get to at least 61 cents, say the fibs. Actually, at least 66, but anywhere under 66 is great. Again, I've already started to do a little bit more accumulation, but we'll just do more as it drops into this level. Again, breaking below 58 is no good. But then you have this level way down here. I think it's 43 cents. Oh no, wait, it's lower than that, isn't it? Yeah, it's 11 cents or something like that. I don't remember. I don't have a fib on here, but that would be really bad. Honestly, we stay below 58, and I will not want to be in it. But there are bullish outcome potentials. It's just a little more arduous. Let's see, Lido. This is what I'm thinking about cutting. Took a spill this week and indicated that we had a higher 1 and a lower 2, but that is only good. I think this level's now off. Let me look real quick. It's close enough, but 236. So this needs to hold 236 now that we have a higher 1, and this support level was invalidated. So that's a little scary, but as long as that holds up. So if this breaks, I'm gonna get out of my position. I don't have much going on in this. I'd have to double check it actually. I can see potential that this A topped here, but I'd have to look at it. So I'm gonna be cautious at least below 243, 234, and I'd be more inclined to get it off of the weekly report if that does break. So far it's okay, but I've got my eyes on it. Mask is another one I'm thinking about taking off, but I don't know. It's been a pretty good moneymaker, and it's got a wave 2 setup as long as it's over 224. If that breaks, we've got support at 139. I don't think this 99 is an errant line. It's not valid, and then we should push into 18 as long as this 1-2 holds at 224. Solana. See, I did press record. Yeah, I did. All right. Solana's been tricky. I prefer a drop to 60 at least, but it continues to get these candles, so we'll see. It may try for that higher B first. Again, this is certainly corrective, and I don't expect from here to get a run to 197, which is the target once we get this 4 done, but it can surprise. But I do somewhat expect a higher B, probably around 120. But again, B waves are notoriously tricky in terms of target. So we'll see. We'll see that. I'd rather just run down and so we can get done, get accumulated, and get on with it. Rune is in the accumulation zone, and again is one of those early finishers, but we haven't confirmed the bottom yet. So it's in the zone. It's got a completed structure, ugly diagonal, very close to the top, the ideal support level, which is 376. If it continues down, 318 is okay. Below 318 is not good. And as long as that holds, we should reach up to 12. So a good little 3xer here, or I guess it would be 2x return, $8 for $4 with $1 risk. Pretty good. That's called good skew. All right, BLZ. I think I'm just going to skip it, guys, because BLZ is just almost a stable coin right now. APT is probably going to come off. because this one invalidated and we're in this 2, and that 2 has support at, sorry, let me do a quick little switch at 764. So I just don't trust this chart anymore. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by this B breaking. It's been a pretty frustrating chart. So it's probably gonna come off. We'll see. I'll let it, because if it breaks that B, I'm done with it. EGLD. This is a little high for a 4 and this 3. So it may, and this is 3 waves down. So this could be B of 3. So this still looks to me like it's in progress, and it looks to me like we're gonna get very close to 40 before we get the 5th wave, likely in the 100 region. So but I am accumulating this one a little. I'm keeping this position very light because it's a pretty sloppy chart and not the greatest quality long term. STX, if as long as we hold this line at 104, I have a 1-2 off of this B for the C. If that breaks, then we have an obnoxiously high A, and the B will have support in this region. I don't have quite have the level, but it's around 53. So I have a couple levels of support in here. I'm going to be done with it if it breaks 53, because then it opens up the door to 25, and that may never hold. So I will be done with it if it breaks that, but I'm going to do a little bit of accumulation in here otherwise. SCI has been pretty nice, very nice flat in an ongoing impulse. Support is 43 for this 4th wave. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me get rid of that for this 4th wave. Circle 4 of 3, so 43 cents. And we should get a 4th and 5th up into 270. So it's been nice trading. I mean, I've been accumulating a little bit, then I'm gonna accumulate out or accumulate out, cut back, accumulate, cut back, unless one of these breaks, and we'll roll this blue line up as it goes. Bonk. Doesn't look to me like it's going to hold this 2. Wasn't necessarily expected, because that would have been a very shallow A. Also, that if it would have held this 1 2, I would have called that 4. So it hasn't broken yet because it hasn't invalidated, but it's more or less not holding support. So again, I didn't necessarily expect that, but it was just something to watch. So that opens the door. Probably should hit 4.7. I'm cutting out all the zeros because I can barely count them. 5 zeros plus 4.5 to 4.7. And if it doesn't hold that, and it rallies correctively in this B, then it can go down. So I'm going to add a little bit more at this level here, 4.7, and then see if it impulsively reverses again, keeping it small until we get a very clear impulse. So always the way I trade. Cake. Now I've said my position size and bonk is obnoxiously small at 60 bucks. I just don't. There just isn't any reason to have any anymore while it's in this correction and has such potential to drop. So cake, come on. It looks to me like this 2 is going to break. We'll see. It's just doesn't look like it'll be a complete pattern when it hits it, but we'll see. But it should get a bounce in A of this circle 2. So we have support levels. Again, the one I don't expect to hold is 240. If 240 breaks, which again I expect it to do, 143 is the next level down. Technically this is 242, but kind of rounded it. So that's cake, and then GMX. Kind of an ugly setup, but I mean, part of it is actually is one of the few coins I see as having some fundamentals behind it, actually having some external cash flow, but that shouldn't be a reason to have such a bias. But it is a nice diagonal. It did fill in a nice diagonal, and so far is acting like a flat, and it should reach 36 based on the A equals C, and that's very close to support, which is 35.73. And it's in its 3rd wave right now. It is low enough to say the 3rd wave bottom, but we haven't seen any indication of a bounce in 4 yet. I'm just looking at it real quick. Yeah. All right. And then on to equities. Square, bad turn, confirming. Best I can tell, it's pretty. I mean, the wave structure on this is not well defined, but this sure looks like a 3-wave top to me. So we'll see if it holds 45, and then we can track a diagonal, which the third is about, well, if it went deep, then the third is about 126. If it's shallower, then it'll be higher. I cut my position out. I just didn't like the three-way top after this thing's such a dumpster fire long term, and then I will watch for an impulsive reversal out of this box before I think about getting back in. Coin has confirmed the higher degree 4, which I find unfortunate, but it's not horrible. Should be catching a B wave bounce here, ideally, and then should sink into the 90 region for this 4. And now that we're dealing with a diagonal and a deep 4, we kind of want to use the channel. So pin it to the 1 and the 3, and then the 2 underneath. So it makes the levels less reliable. That's why diagonals are so soupy. I mean, using trend lines and supports is pretty soupy, not very precise work, and that's one of the problems with diagonals. They also tend to overthrow. So anyway, so that's what we're watching. Not great. And then miners, you know, all said and done, just broke down this week. And again, I have light positions because I liquidated near the top. So I don't mind accumulating, but some of you guys that have been miner junkies, you guys might be in heavy, and I feel for you because this is really not the best breakdown. Really, you know, it's very less than ideal, and you've got to be careful with your positions. In marathon, it should be taking. It's possible this is a low 4 in a diagonal, but again, look at Bitcoin. It is not ideally. It's not ideally done. So how could this be? Again, I'm correlating. We'll see. We can always see an A, B for a 5 in a diagonal when Bitcoin finishes its B. So we'll see. But I mean, by and large, just broke support for 4. So I slightly prefer the red count, which can take it down into the 7 to 8 region. So which is basically back to October levels, or October last year, which is pretty bad. So we'll see. Again, I am giving myself lots of room in my cash to accumulate down to there. And again, the only reason I don't like these charts and the way they're forming, they really look terrible from an LOA perspective. But again, you know, I'm taking the assumption too that we should get some kind of rally out of them as Bitcoin hauls into 125K, again, if it does. But these charts are becoming, I mean, I've preached it for 2 years now, and this was a week of confirmation of my concern with these charts because they, again, broke very key support as they came down. Again, not all is lost. They haven't broken bull market levels yet. Some of them might. Hive, for one, I haven't looked at Hive. Has anyone looked at Hive? I mean, that thing had a 1-2 set up last week. I mean, what a disaster. I think Hut's the same way. So just be real careful with your position size in these guys, please. I'm always brokenhearted at the end of every bull market or at the end of every bear market, as some of my subscribers go broke despite the best things I say. Again, doesn't matter how good the analyst is. If you folks aren't trading right, you can go broke off of our work. I mean, it is completely possible because we are not handholding you guys. So I'm just asking and pleading that everyone be careful with these charts because I care and I hate the DMs. I get the DMs. I'm leaving because I'm broke. I have gotten those DMs and it's terrible. And again, it's not because everyone in the service went broke. It's like these 1s and 2s people that cannot manage their risk. And well, I have some people that DM me at the top of bull markets and say they're retiring. You know, I get those DMs as well. And I hate the ones, I always worry about the ones that are retiring because if they don't manage the bear market well, they may be back to work. But at the same time, I'd rather get those than the ones that says I'm broke with the bear market. I mean, like literally broke because they didn't manage their positions and they were overbetting. I mean, you shouldn't go broke investing anyway. You should have cash in the bank or whatever in gold or something that's not going to go draw you under, especially if you're trading crypto. All right, so that's my spiel. APLD. This is a pretty good once you set up off a diagonal. The long-term chart's pretty sketchy, but one good one too so far. Again, so as long as we hold 410, I don't have anything good to say about the chart below 410, so just mark my words. But we do have a complete-looking structure here, and so we'll see if it holds. Now, is this highly correlated to Bitcoin? Yes and no. It's got some correlation to Bitcoin, so I'm not against this one impulsing out of this region or drifting a little bit more and then impulsing out of this region. We'll see, but again, I'm not. My cost. I was looking at my cost, even though I got called into shares this last week. I have a cost right about now, even with all this trading, which is a little crazy, of you know, I got a lot of profit up in here, which is why I've got such a low cost on it. But I mean, sorry, I took profit way back here, back in the day. Anyway, so I've got a pretty nice low cost, but at the end of the day, after getting called into shares at 6, I think it was, via selling puts or put into shares, so to speak, I'm just right back to where we were in cost, which is kind of funny. Anyway, funny how that works. But I had a negative cost for a while based on profit taking and all that. So anyway, I gave that up. Not bad. I mean, it's fine. Iris Energy, this one again, surprisingly being the little miner that it is with the really horrible long-term chart, it actually held its 1-2 setup, which is, again, it had 5 waves to here, so it was a 1-2, not a 4th wave like Marathon, and 383 is support. So it's all good so far, but we'll see if it holds, right? Like, you know, Bitcoin gets its B wave, hopefully it'll get off the ground because it doesn't have much room to hold it. So it's holding today, but I can't promise that it's going to hold in the future with Bitcoin needing more of a correction or looking like it does. All right, so let's see. So what's your opinion on miners? I think I just said it. Pretty terrible, and I've had that view for 2 years. I mean, I eat my words for periods of times where we had these rallies, and I didn't have a big position, and you know, people are just pumping them, especially on the main market. You know, there's a serious miner cheerleading group on the main market room, and I'm like, man, this is getting heady, guys. And you know, I pretty much, I don't want to say justified in my concern because I don't like to go but I mean, guys, I mean, breaking support like this, it just speaks to the poor quality of these charts. And again, I'm going to have periods of time when I'm going to feel wrong and I'm going to be wrong, but by and large, these charts have gone nowhere for 2023 to 2024 while Bitcoin has climbed, big time. So we're back to square one on them again. And so, you know, again, when you get some profit in miners, take it. And at the same time, don't bet the farm on them because they're really not worth it. I know some people feel otherwise, but man, and then we've got a big bear market coming after 125K. And so I'm going to be shorting miners unless I'm wrong about that bear market. I hold some APT. Would you get out here? See if it be break? I just see it be breaks but that's again because my position size is small. Like I trade altcoins tiny, so I can wait. I can let support break. Like, and I build on trades that are working, and that trade is kind of working sometimes and kind of not. It's the same thing with like Lido, right? It's like it feels good for a while, and then it's kind of weak sauce. So I want to spend more money on Matic and Rune at this stage. Because they look like really good setups. Sometimes 4th waves are easier to trade than talk about Rune. Anyway, so I can't give advice. Would you get out here to see if I'm just going to see if the D breaks. But again, that's somewhat guided by my position size. All right, so let's see. Yeah, more requests. I don't do requests. All right, so we're going to move on. I've got 4 charts. That's it. These are the requests on the board yesterday, and then we're going to sign off, guys. So IMX is the first one. Again, big ABC chart, as strong as it has been, pretty clearly an A with the diagonal, an ending diagonal for C. Should get a 5th wave. You know, you'd assume that after the C, it's got something going on provided that we're still in the bull market, but I just don't know what that is because the ABC tops don't tell you much. So we're pretty clear diagonal into the C wave levels. Again, 4th wave in diagonal is no real reliable level. I'd rather it hold 148. That's a pretty nice fib after hitting 1, 2, 3, 6, but it can definitely breach that. And then we'll see if it gets a 5th. But I would definitely want to take profit, and I would get out of it. Personally, I'm not in it. There's a chance I might buy some of it. Let's see, what's the skew like? 148. So it's only double, so it's actually not worth it to me. So I won't be trading it. But I would definitely want to take profit if I was in that C wave because again, I don't have any. I don't know. There's lots. Again, with a 3-wave top, you got all sorts of scenarios in the future. BITF. I mean, it still looks like a wave 2 top to me. I don't know what to say about this chart. 5 down, wave 2, getting hit. Didn't get high enough for this 3 in this diagonal, so we could pull this diagonal off. Not to say something else doesn't happen. It also, you know, I've said a lot of these wave 2s probably want to, you know, maybe float and hover a while while it's in a bull market, but this is definitely all the miners, not one that I would trade given pretty clean 5 down, extended 5th, A, B, C. not even a finished C, which is terrible too. So not a quality chart. Again, it can surprise. Breaking over 563 says something is more bullish, but I should put this red. I don't know what that would be, given the condition of the chart, especially after that diagonal was broken. So maybe some kind of larger ABC. I don't know, but this is not a chart I would own. You couldn't pay me to have a position in it. AVAX, I wasn't sure what to do with this chart because I've covered this ad nauseum. I mean, I'm trying to do people solid and go into the micro here this morning to do best I can. But the problem is we have, an A wave, we have 5 down, we got an A wave, and this B can easily break to new lows. Will it? I don't know. If the B or / alternate 2 is high enough to suggest that it's going to break out, then we can talk about this 5 waves breaking or invalidating and being more bullish. Problem is, then what? I'm not sure, but at least we can trade a C wave up. So, but it doesn't indicate any of that. I mean, it's just in a correction right now. Going into the micro, it's got some kind of a double bottom attempt, but double bottoms tend to break anyway. That's internet lore that they actually work. Maybe it does a higher B. There's lots of things that can happen in this correction. If it's a B wave, if it ends up being 5 waves down, then sayonara B wave, it's going to be very deep. So, and that would mean 5 waves down to at least 20. So again, I'm not sure what to say, but there's a lot of different ways this correction can go. The B wave again can be high to low if it's a B wave, and it looks like we already have a 3-wave confirmation, so it should be a B wave drop, not a wave 2, but I can be wrong in my interpretation. So we'll see where this B wave, again, I would not want to be in this chart until we have a clear impulsive reaction to some B wave low that affords us a tight stop. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to me to be long this chart unless you just need some, which I have some for DeFi, but I think I have like 20 bucks worth because that's all you really need on the Avalanche decentralized finance dApps. All right, so any questions about that, let me know. They wanted long-term, short-term, there's no long-term viability on this one yet. We need 5 ways to do that. We're at a key support level for a diagonal. Again, there's nothing impulsive about this. Clearly 3 waves in 1 or A. And this C wave is even terrible with all of it overlapping, so it's a diagonal as well. Maybe A, B, C if it's the third in the diagonal. And then alternate, I did say alternate. There is alternate view that this is 3, 4, and 5. I don't consider that to be reliable, and this is wave 2. And then if that was the case, we would have A, B, C. So all of that is to say this chart is a mess. We'll see where the impulsive reaction shows. Not so good. I do own a little bit because I was playing with some momentum trades up here. It didn't go my way. Not enough for me to cry about. But I don't have anything long term for it until we have a 1-2 setup, and I don't have a 1-2 setup. So we haven't made 5 waves. It's just right now we got a corrective rally off of the 2023 lows, and again, alternately I could say it's a diagonal, which is not much help until we have a clear 1-2 and impulsive reaction. So very far from any kind of long-term. Now, given that this is altcoin, is going to be an impulse from there? Probably more likely a C wave, and then this thing dies in the next bear market after 125K Bitcoin. Most likely, that's this long-term life. I mean, because it is 90% of altcoins that do not put subsequent all-time highs in with each cycle. That's about 90%. And I think what CoinGecko posted research that 50% of altcoins actually get delisted over, I think it was a period of 4 years or 5 years. So that's pretty bad. I don't care if this is a level 2, it doesn't matter. I mean, level 2 is a severe competition nowadays. I mean, there'll just be a new one that's faster or whatever. I mean, I don't really care if this is a level 2 on Ether. It doesn't give it any guarantee of life. So, and at the same time, it's actually better for these things to be cheaper so that they can be used for fees, right? So like you'd think that, a scaling solution like Avalanche, or I mean, I know Avalanche is in level 2, but you'd think they just be driven cheaper because that's more healthy for the network. So the incentive is cheaper, and certainly they all have corrective structures. Avalanche does too. So now Matic for some reason has a better setup. So we'll see. But I don't necessarily see Matic, even with it doing a long-term 5-wave structure, I don't necessarily think that means it has life price-wise afterwards. Like, it's not a guarantee. We've seen lots of 5 waves in altcoins that have died. and invalidated. In fact, again, 90% of them do not come back after their first cycle. So I expect the same thing of Arbitrum, but let's see. Again, I'm not saying that the network is down. I'm just simply saying the token value does not come back. But we'll see. We'll see how that, I don't have enough to go on now at this point in time. I'm just using historic assumptions and looking at this and saying, well, it's a crap chart anyway, so why would I expect more of it anyway? All right. Okay, we've got lots of questions here. Okay, you guys are throwing requests at me, and again, you guys know the rules, so I'm ignoring them. Not many decent charts. Is this normal bull market, or do more alts? They tend to like clean up later. Like I would say altcoin charts are always crappy. Except it was weird in 2017 because we would have impulses that were like very clean third waves, and then most of them didn't finish 5 waves. Like they died at 4. Even Ether did in 2017. So it's not a normal to deal with this. The problem is a lot of people that have 2017 disease. They remember the heady days of altcoins, and they're still living into that. And those days are done. Like that was a third of a third in Bitcoin, and the liquidity was pouring out of the seams and falling into every altcoin, and we just don't have those days anymore. Again, that's why I just trade small in altcoins, and then if they work, they work. If they, and they work great if they work, because the liquidity is so poor, just a little bit of buyers just launches them. But to me, they're not main trades to me. And you really only going to be in a bull market. That said, a lot of times in a latter stage where there's a saying that I think does play pretty well true is when no one's talking about crypto, buy Bitcoin. When everyone's talking about Bitcoin, buy altcoins. When everyone's talking about altcoins, sell it all, right? And that's kind of how the cycle works. So wait till everyone's talking about Bitcoin and getting excited about it. Well, maybe we start to see that because we have the spot ETFs, but it doesn't seem very euphoric to me. It doesn't seem, especially with all the outflows, the GBTC and all that, it doesn't seem like liquidity is pouring out of the seams. So we'll see if later in the cycle. But yeah, by and large, I think that the cycle's been kind of weak, but that doesn't mean it doesn't turn on later. And again, it's not unnormal nowadays, since we're out of the third of Bitcoin, for all the charts to be difficult. So anyway, and I have low expectations of any altcoin that it's going to last cycle by cycle. And just let's see. I mean, BNB, Aave have lasted, but I mean, look at the charts right now. I mean, are they going to get to their targets is my question right now. So yeah, those are all normal questions that we have to ask ourselves. All right, so let's see, are the fib targets for diagonals the same as impulse? No, the third tends to do the 1, 2, 3, 6. I mean, Aave often accepts the 1, 2, 3, 6, but I don't trust. It's like the BITF missed it hit the 1, 2, 3, 6, it missed the 1, 3, 8. I don't trust that to be a diagonal. So just in my experience, if you only hit the 1, 2, 3, 6, you don't have a diagonal, and there are some exceptions occasionally. So and again, when a third in an impulse, a good one, hits the 1, 2, 6, 1, 8, and you don't typically see that in a diagonal, except sometimes in altcoins where they're like super illiquid. But I don't trust any diagonal that misses the 1, 3, 8, 2. Again, sometimes the third. I mean, the 1, 2, 1, 3, 8, 2 is the minimum of a third in an impulse. And ideally hit 1, 6, 1, 8. So it's a little bit more stretch in an impulse. And then the fifth is usually 1, 6, 1, 8 in the diagonal, where the minimum in an impulse is usually 1, 7, 6, 4. So, and that's because the fifth is weaker in a diagonal typically than a fifth in an impulse. So yeah, so that's kind of the way that works. Do we do link? It wasn't on I cover link, on the board. No one requested it, and it's not on my weekly because I'm just trading a fifth in a wave 2, a seeable wave 2, and so I'm bearish on it after this fifth wave coming up. So until it proves me otherwise. So I haven't put it on the report because it's very temporal to me. So that's why it's not being covered and no one requested it. So I'm happy if you put the request on the board, happy to cover it. If you're not subscribed, then sorry. Which alts are you looking to accumulate other than Rune and Matic? GMX for sure, Bonk for sure, but small. Cake, I will do one more buy. That one's in DeFi, so I need to do a little bit larger chunks. EGLD for sure. I like stacks. Actually, SCI looks beautiful to me, so that's kind of my list. Solana as well. I mean, so yeah. So I'll go through it again. Solana, Rune for sure, Matic for sure, EGLD, XTX, I don't know if it's going to give me accumulation. It's pretty vertical. I don't know if it'll give me any more accumulation. We'll see. SCI looks like it will, so I'm going to. Bonk looks like it will, but it'll be small because it's that chart just has some. It's a very negative skew up here in Bonk, right? Like the support is so far down, so it has to be really tiny. Like I might do another, 100 to 200, and then not take it up to like 500 to 1,000. Again, that's as big as I trade altcoins, where I'm in a lot larger in Bitcoin and Ether. And then GMX, I like. I'm kind of partial to the chart because of fundamentals, but that's questionable. But it does have a nice diagonal, so I'm definitely going to accumulate there. Just trying to think. So Lido, Mask, we'll see. BLZ, I'm interested in as well, but it's just not. It's not doing anything. It's not even pulling back large enough. I still have a position, but it's not doing much with it. So that's about it. There may, I'm watching for other ones, so we'll see. So in your opinion, would it be better to own a Bitcoin ETF or MAIR? I mean, just okay. Let's go through my logic. Bitcoin chart looks great, right? Bitcoin ETFs should follow the Bitcoin chart times the multiplier, less a little bit of management fees, right? Of course, the commissions in the spot ETFs are better than trading spot. So okay, and then I've said that Marathon is, looks like crap. So again, you can go through logic. It's pretty clear. Is Marathon not a viable business? The problem with Marathon is that they've been diluting shareholders the whole damn way, the whole entire life. Just look at the balance sheet, look at the cash flow. They've been just siphoning off shareholders. So is it a viable business? I mean, people will argue that that's so they can hodl. I mean, I appreciate that they can hodl, but to be honest, I think that a business should pay its way. Like it should be paying its expenses and not using shareholders. And maybe some shareholders are game. But again, is Marathon a viable business? I mean, I could sure the CEO is sure confident. Their hash rate has certainly gone up. But to me, they got to stop siphoning off shareholders. They got to stop diluting them, because that just says to me that that it's is the fear it's like gold miners versus gold. Well, historically it has been. I mean, just look at a Marathon versus Bitcoin chart, and it's a dumpster fire. Like it has been. Like you don't have to say fear that it will be. It has been. It's just historical fact. Just pull up just create a chart that's Marathon divided by Bitcoin, and it's just a dumpster fire. Same thing. I didn't realize how bad GDX is versus gold. Like it just means it's so gold. Gold miners is the same thing as Bitcoin mining. Like you have to get it while it's good, and then you got to get out, right? And we had a good shot. I got a little lucky that I was like, wow, I got some profit in these things, and I just said, like, I don't have an edge in these charts, so I started liquidating, and it just happened to be the top. I mean, it just happened to be the top, and again, like sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I will confess that was luck, but it was luck driven by me not having a strong edge in these sloppy charts. And and right now I thought we had some good support, and so I thought it would hold. Nope, didn't hold. Again, that happens. Like I never think of my support levels as crystal balls, but what it says is the chart is bad. Like it's just not good. Again, viable business. Again, I don't know. Go through the balance sheet. Go through the cash flow statements. I struggle to see a business adding shareholder value except for short stints during the bull market. And it may simply be that shareholders now are going, okay, how much farther Bitcoin can go before these businesses start diluting us again, and Bitcoin turns around, and then they're hodling off of our dime. And I don't want to have any part of that. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't think Marathon is going broke, for sure not. It's got a heck of a lot of Bitcoin, but it's hodling that Bitcoin off of the shareholders' dime because it keeps diluting them. So I don't know. I haven't looked at recently in the last quarter how much dilution has happened, but certainly happened last quarter. Maybe it was 2023 with the severe dilution. It's like, why are you diluting in a bull market? I don't know. Anyway, people can think otherwise. Can show Matic again, sure. I don't know if there's anything particularly you want to look at. Just let me know. But so here's the setup here. 58 cents of support. I wouldn't get too tied up. I don't get tied up into micro myself. I just basically help a little bit guide. I'm gonna accumulate here. If it gets like high 4, I could take a little profit. I might not, and then accumulate into the fifth, which could go as low as 58 cents. Staying below 58 cents is bad. So, and then I said earlier, this fib seems to be in the wrong spot. Basically 10.5 is the ideal. All right. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's touch on this before I hang up. Well, you know, if you guys got to go, I totally get it. But let's touch on the crappiness of these charts. So I'll even do the marathon Bitcoin. So this looked like it was okay with 5 waves, but the problem is this looks like, well, this is weird because it didn't really finish 5 waves down or even 3 wave down. So we probably have a kind of a, yeah, I don't know. This is weird ending, and this is horrible. This is not an impulse. It's like it could be an AB as I have it in red. It can be this AB. Well, it failed at C, so we can take this red. We can take this black off. So it's just man, this is just painful. Like, and it's just basically while Bitcoin's reaching for the moon, this guy's just going sideways. I mean, look, we're okay. So we're at the same height. We're reaching even lower than July 2023. Now let's go over to Bitcoin. So while in the last little run in miners, they certainly, so I'm on the wrong chart. I'm trying to talk and do this, but in the last run in Bitcoin, they outperformed Bitcoin briefly. July, Bitcoin was here, and I mean, it's not hugely higher, but 35, and now we're at 40. Where you look at Marathon, it's lower than its July level, right? And this is a strong uptrend. And hopefully you can just simply see that this is not a strong uptrend. It's basically an overlapping whatever. Like, honestly, it's hard to count. Where Bitcoin has a lot of scenarios in its count, but it's basically we can basically say on the Bitcoin chart that as long as this area holds, it's a strong AB or 1-2. Very clear. And as long as this uptrend holds. Where we just we can't even say that about the minor chart. It's not a strong uptrend. It's basically back-ending itself, backfilling itself from where it was, months, last year, basically. So yeah, I mean, if you don't see that, I mean, just like stare at that, and then again, I think I've got the chart loaded. So let's see. Let's go. Yeah, Marathon Bitcoin. And same thing. I didn't realize how bad this exists in gold miners too until this week. Some of you guys saw my discussion with Bunker on Elliott Wave Trader. I didn't even realize it because I just don't trade gold and miners that much like some of you guys do. But I mean, this is 5 down. I don't necessarily believe 5 down in pair charts, but I mean, this says it all. You don't even have to count this. Just look at it. Clearly strong, downtrend. I mean, granted, Marathon, I think, didn't start mining until like 2018 or something. Someone may correct me, but basically, it's gone nowhere. While Bitcoin is way higher than. I mean, it's never not gone in. Hasn't gone anywhere during its life as a miner versus Bitcoin. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just basically sideways. And so, is it leveraging the Bitcoin price? It doesn't seem like it to me. Yeah, it gets outperformance in these brief things, but if you don't grab it while you have a chance, it's fleeting and it's gone. Right? And I swear I got lucky at the top here. I really did. Because arguably it had one more leg to go, and I was like, I got my money. So anyway, it's crazy. Still waiting for 1 to 140 to liquidate Aave. Yeah. Part of the Aave situation is very unique because it's in my retirement account, and I have 4 coins that in my retirement account on Kingdom Trust that I'm willing to trade. I mean, actually, they have Doge, and if Doge wakes up, I might be willing to trade it. But I have Aave, Link, Ether, and Bitcoin, and now technically, they do allow me to pull off into my own custody. So I could take Aave into my Ether wallet and basically do a DeFi switch into something else. But I just don't want to mess with it. I'd rather just trade on the platform. It's a little cheaper because I don't necessarily want to have Ether and cold wallets in my retirement. But anyway, that's something I may consider if I get stuck in it or something like that. But yeah, so that's kind of a special case. Like honestly, I don't know if it's worth it holding for 140. Like if you got some profit off of it now, like I don't know, might want to think about it. And maybe I should. Well, Link is kind of run, so I'm not sure I would do that either. So yeah, anyway. Nothing says solid retirement planning like Doge. No, hey, I mean, if it goes, it goes. Like, I'm careful with altcoin, so it's not like I'm gonna, I know you know I can handle my stuff, but it's like, hey, that would be fun to say, like, hey, I just blew my retirement through the roof on Doge, man. I've made a lot of money in Doge over the years. I don't want to say a lot of money, but like I've walked away from the Doge rallies with some nice chunk of change. And like I always say, every dog has its day, and Doge is definitely in that category. I mean, every cycle it seems to go, but it hasn't done it yet. It's not even set up to do it right now. All right, any other questions? You said in the past you're not a super fan of Kingdom Trust. Yeah, I'm not. In the past, do you know any alternatives? There are a lot of alternatives. I just haven't done due diligence on them. Now, the only due diligence I can do is actually try to sign up, but I have my retirement account. The nice thing is Kingdom Trust, lets you take custody, but I don't know if that's not true in the other ones. My problem with Kingdom Trust is multiple. Like their platform is kind of not great. They don't list everything. I've had to ask them why they're not listing this or that. And then the compliance side of it was just horrific. Customer service is actually kind of bad too. So yeah, I disrecommend them, unfortunately. I even had a talk with their vice president because he called me because because they gave me a survey. It was nice of him to call me, and I read him the Riot Act. And I don't know if it doesn't seem like it's changed anything there. I mean, he was apologetic and all of that, but I was like, you're coming on board. It took 6 months to go through compliance, and your people kept forgetting me. Like they kept forgetting, like, okay, every time I called them, I had to like, this is where we're at. You didn't look at the records. Like, you're coming in fresh to this conversation again. Like no, you should, why, I told the VP, I'm like, why wasn't somebody sticking on me until we walked through the whole compliance thing so I didn't have to restart every, effing month. I mean, that's how I felt. I was just thinking about it, I get emotional again. So don't go with Kingdom Trust, but unfortunately, I don't have a great alternative for you. I'm there. I have to make it work. If possible, could you comment on KLSK? I mean, it looks like crap. I mean, I'll post it on the board, if you put a request in, but I don't have the chart handy. Again, like, my rules. Yeah, we get more requests. You guys throwing requests out. Again, if you want the rights for requests, you either need to subscribe or I just reserve it for subscribers, or you need to be, if you're subscribed and you're not getting the request in, you gotta get your request in on time on Friday. But again, like my opinion of the miners is they're crappy, they're poor. The only one that's really holding support is Iris Energy, but the Iris Energy chart is not great long term either, so it doesn't really matter that much. It's just we'll get it while it's good, and then if it breaks, it breaks. And if it does break here, it's really bad in that chart. I think it may go down to like 2 or 1. All right. They're beating up everything else once again, but they are king. They're the bellwethers. And even Ether long-term chart's not great. So it's a good to have during the cycles. The nice thing about it is it correlates well with Bitcoin, and then we can use the Ether Bitcoin chart to try to catch its outperformances. But its long-term chart is kind of dicey too. So it's and I have a hard time with it's like the scalability. Like I don't like. It's like here's Ether with all its level 2s. Like I think level 2s are cool, that it gives scalability, and it's nice to have Ether security and all that. But it's like what if you created a phone so complex and so expensive to run that you had to have a paired phone that to work the cell network, right? I mean, it's like if the iPhone was so complex interface wise that you couldn't use it for phone calls, so you got to have another simple phone that you can pair to it that allows you to make phone calls. I mean, that's kind of like Ether. Maybe that's a bad analogy, someone's gonna make fun of me, but I'm trying to like, it's just so weird. It's weird that Ether has to have these level 2s and it's so stuck unscalable where like Solana, I mean, works like a dream. And I don't know, we can get in arguments about security on Solana and blah, 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 centralization and on and on. Like, I think if they're all like have these various levels of central, decentralized, whatever, like, you know, but if you're just a end user, like all you care about is that it works. And Solana works really well, works like a dream, you know, again, and I'm not pro Solana per se, but in terms of DeFi experiences, I mean, I just use it more because it's just a lot easier. So anyway, all right, let's see. What do you think about oil stocks? PBR, oh, you're funny. I had no idea. Let's see, the blue AB count in Ether did not look like it aligns with the AB in Bitcoin. Right, it doesn't. And so I'm a little bit more iffy on that one. Not anything more I can say than that. I mean, right now, Ether support, miner support is crystal clear. It's 1680, and it doesn't look like it's going to hit it right now. It looks like it's going to take off, and you know, then we'll move support as we go. So the AB in Bitcoin in Ether is like well off, like not even worth worrying about right now. Let's see. Can you please show Solana chart again? Sure. So there you go. Questions? What I was saying is I'm iffy on this high B. It seems like a can with some of these candles, but yeah, it hasn't really made an effort here and then failed, and then maybe trying again, but we'll see. But mainly, I mean, I've been waiting to add. I mean, I will add in between 80 and 60, but you know, to go heavy, I want 60. And if I don't get it, I don't get it. All right. Ether AB possibly aligning with the BTC red 3-4. It's possible, yeah, totally possible. And the AB, you know, the thing is ABs are tricky because ABs can be shallow too, and they could feel like 4s. So it may be like, it may be just an unnecessary count by my part, but I don't know until we get there. All right, I'm gonna hang up. I'll get everything on the board. If you know, some of you guys were throwing requests at me. I mean, if you're subscribed, throw it up. I mean, throw it up as I'm lining up. Oh, and sorry, I should put this in housekeeping. I have an appointment. It looks like I have enough time, but I got to leave my house at 11:30 roughly. So if I can't get everything up, it will all be delayed. But I'll do my best to get it all up before I have to leave the house. If not, it'll be this afternoon, evening. But I'm going to work on it right now. And if you have requests, I'll try to get to those. And if not, I'll get those in the afternoon. I guess again, some of you guys, I don't know if you guys were subscribed or just throwing requests at me off Twitter, but again, I don't take them off of questions. So you got to put them up in the board. All right, talk to you guys later.